Hi everyone, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, my name is Avril and thank you for joining. In today's video, I'm so excited to be sharing with you 5 unique ways you could create your Christmas wreath for this Christmas season. So stick around to see how it's done, and remember, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to support my channel and also to be notified every time I upload a video. So guys, let's get started with wreath number 1, the concrete wreath. This wreath by far was my favorite wreath to do. It was so simple and easy to do, and I loved how it turned out. Please do let me know in the comments down below which one of these wreaths was your favorite. I would love to know. Anyways, let's get started. Okay guys, so start off this concrete wreath. These are a few supplies you will need. First of all, you will need a wreath. This is from the Dollar Tree, which I've got in hand, some cement mix and some rags. I chose to use chuck wipes, which I got in hand. Once you're ready with your supplies, you will need to prepare your cement mix. Here I'm using around 2 cups of cement mix together with water to make it a runny consistency. Once the cement mix is ready, it's time to soak the rags into the cement mix. Let it soak for a couple of minutes. Afterwards, let's start on the wreath. Now it's time to put this wreath together. Here you see me using the strips of rag which I soaked in the concrete mix earlier to wrap around the wreath. At this stage, you need to take your time wrapping around these concrete strips on the wreath. It's not that hard. It took me a couple of minutes to finish it off, but it was all worth it. Once I was done wrapping the entire wreath with the concrete strips, I set it aside to dry overnight. Now it's dry and ready for its next step. I wanted to give this wreath a little bit of texture, so I decided to use nautical rope. Here I'm using some nautical rope to wrap around the wreath. Once I was done wrapping around the entire wreath with the nautical rope, I wanted to give this wreath a earthy look, so I decided to use moss to get my desired look. Here I'm using Elmer's Cool Glue, which I got in hand to stick my moss onto the wreath. But you could use any glue you got in hand. Even Mod Podge would do. Here you see me using a brush to apply the glue onto the wreath so I could stick the moss onto it. Once I was done sticking the first layer of moss onto the wreath, I found it much easier pouring the glue onto the wreath rather than using the brush to apply the glue. Now it's time to let the moss dry to start on the next step. Now the moss is dry and the wreath is looking earthy and aged, exactly the look I was going for. But I still wanted to give this a Christmassy look, so I decided to use some holly garlands which I got in hand and wrap it around this wreath to give it the look I'm after. Once I was done wrapping around the holly garland, I still wanted some color, so I decided to use some red ribbon and some nautical rope to tie up a bow to give that Christmassy look I'm after. We are finally done with the cement wreath, and this is how it turned out. I really like the look of it. Hope you all like it too. So let's get started on our second wreath, the rag wreath. Here are a few supplies you will need for this project. So to get started with this project, you will need some sort of a wired wreath. This was something I got in hand, which was from the Dollar Tree. You will also need some type of material. You could use multiple colors or patterns of material if you wish, but I was going for a more neutral look, so I used one type of material. Once you have got all your supplies ready, it's time to prep for the next step. Here you see me cutting out strips of material you need to cut as much as you can because you will need loads of it. Now my strips are ready to be tied onto the wreath. At this stage, all you do is take the strips of fabric which you had cut earlier and tie it onto each ring of your wreath. I repeated this process until I got to the end of my wreath. This process took a little bit of time than I thought because you have to tie each single strip of fabric onto the wreath, but you could take breaks in between if you wish to. Once you're done tying up all the strips of fabric onto your wreath, it's time to give it a bit of a trim. Here you see me trimming out all of my excess bits of fabric on my wreath. Now the wreath is ready to be decorated. So guys, I decided to decorate this wreath with things I've got in hand. These are some mini Christmas baubles which I've got that I thought would go perfectly with this wreath. At this stage, you could decorate this wreath with whatever you got in hand, or even leave it as it is. Once I was done decorating it, I used the ribbon so I could hang it up. At the end, this is how it turned out. I love how simple and elegant this looks. Hope you'll like it too. Wreath number 3. Dreamcatcher wreath. So easy and simple to do. So guys, all you need for this project is 2 wired rings and the strips of concrete we used in our previous project. Here you see me wrapping the strips of concrete on my wired ring. Afterwards, I took a smaller ring and attached it to the larger ring. And then I decided to soak some string into the concrete mix. And afterwards, loop it around the 2 rings. At this stage, you could skip the process of soaking the string into the concrete mix and use it as it is. Once you're done looping the 2 rings together, you set it aside to dry. While my wreath was drying, I decided to use dry clay to make some Christmassy looking charms for my wreath. All I did was rolled out my clay and then used my cookie cutters to cut out some shapes. After I was done cutting out my shapes, I then used the straw to make some holes on it. Once I was done, I set it aside to dry. Now the cutout shapes are dry and ready to be attached onto the wreath. Here I am using some floral wire to attach my shapes onto the wreath. At this stage, you could use any type of shapes you prefer or even add more shapes to this wreath. Once I was done adding my shapes to the wreath, I then took some nautical rope and tied in some bows. Afterwards, I used the same rope to hang my wreath. So this is how this Dreamcatcher Christmas themed wreath turned out. Hope you guys like it. Wreath number 4. The traditional wreath. So guys, this is by far the easiest wreath to do. All you need is a wreath. This is something I got in hand, some green garland and some floral stems. Once you have got all your supplies in hand, you then wrap the garland around the wreath until you come to the end of the wreath. Once you're done wrapping the garland around the wreath, then it's time to add your poinsettias. Here you see me decorating this wreath along with some sprigs of pine, some poinsettias and some holly. I played around with the sprigs and the holly till I got my desired look. At this stage, you could decorate this wreath with any type of floral stem you wish to use. So this is how this simple and easy to do wreath turned out. Hope you guys like it. Wreath number 5, last but not least, the natural wreath. So simple and easy to do. I started off this project by using some natural twine which I already got in hand that I then wrapped around the entire wreath. Once I was done wrapping the entire wreath, I wanted to give this wreath a bit more of a shabby look, so I decided to use some raffia. Here you see me wrapping the raffia on the entire wreath until I got my desired look. Once I was done with the wreath, I still felt that this wreath was missing something, so I decided to use some bells and stars to give it a more of a farmhouse look. Here you see me attaching the bells and the stars onto the wreath. I played around with it until I got my desired look. Once I was done attaching the stars and bells, I cut off the excess twine and then decided to add some color by adding a red and white striped bow onto the wreath. So guys, this is how the natural farmhouse theme wreath turned out. I love the simplicity and the look of it. Hope you guys like it. So guys, that's it for today. Hope you got inspired and enjoyed watching this video. Please give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to support my channel and also to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, happy crafting!